This is Rob Morse of the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. I'm reminding you that this podcast is one of the many good ones on the Self-Defense Radio Network. Check out the other podcasts at selfdefenseradio.net.
Welcome to Unload and Show Clear, the podcast about all things IDPA. And now, here's your host, President of the Non-Threat Assassination Squad, Lloyd Bailey.
Welcome to another episode of Unload and Show Clear, where we counter the media's negative image of gun culture by introducing you to the amazing men and women who are involved in IDPA, International Defensive Pistol Association. We're focusing on people, not politics. The everyday people from all walks of life, men and women who volunteer their time and effort, who spend their hard-earned dollars on travel, match fees, and gear to make this sport great. They're your doctors. They clean your teeth. They're fixing your houses, taking care of your pets. They fix your computers and pilot your planes, and they protect our streets and our nation. They are gun culture at its finest, and it's misunderstood or completely unknown to the mainstream media. Today, I'm going to introduce you to another one of these awesome people. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor. I'm really excited and honored to be able to say that today's show is brought to you by the Blue Bullets. Why am I so excited? Well, for one, the Blue Bullets make cost-effective, quality bullets specifically designed for competitive shooters. Two, they're big supporters of the shooting sports because they're competitive shooters themselves. And three, because I'm a customer and I believe in their products. Using their own polymer-based liquid coating that they mix in-house, Blue Bullets are designed to prevent barrel leading, to reduce smoke, and yet they're priced comparably to other uncoated lead bullets. And unlike uncoated lead bullets, the Blue Bullets are Glock safe. How did they do that? They did that by spending 6 years developing a coating and a process that ensures consistency and quality. I can tell you from my own experience that while I usually don't perform very well at matches, the Blue Bullets never let me down. Visit thebluebullets.com today. Tell them you heard about it on Unload and Show Clear by using this promo code BBUSC at checkout, and you will save 5% off of your order. The Blue Bullets, family owned and operated by competitors who know what you want in competition bullets. Check them out at thebluebullets.com. Our special guest today is Jasen Slattery from Neenah, Wisconsin. Jasen, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what you do for a living there in Neenah.
Well, I am a private security employee. I am the security director at Fox River Mall. I've been there, actually, I just celebrated, dare I say that, 19 years. I've worked in private security in a shopping center setting for, I think it's been about 23 years now.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I wanted to go into law enforcement, but in college, I also wanted to have fun, so I worked at a beer distributor, and at 140 pounds, lifting 180-pound kegs in coolers or refrigerators that aren't very tall, the back injuries will catch up to you regardless of age, and that's happened to me about 6 weeks before I was supposed to go to the academy. And after sustaining or having the herniated disc in my lower back, the traditional, the common L4, L5, S1 injury, I was told to get an epidural injection. And I said, I never want to have one of those again. But I ended up driving by a mall. It was Northridge Mall in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is now closed because of the problems that it posed for the community and whatnot. But I was hired literally on the spot and advanced rather quickly into management within the first year and a half, and the rest is history. So
very cool.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Still work with law enforcement in that capacity, and it's just much better hours and much more flexible for family life, which I appreciate.
Awesome. Now, you didn't ride around on the Segway like Paul Blart, did you?
Oh, no, man. If I could get a hold of the person that wrote Mall Cop, oh my goodness. I tell you what, it is such. They took the worst possible employee you could and based a movie off of them. I tell you, and the segues. Oh my goodness, I cannot stand those in a shopping center. So impersonal. It's ay. I'm surprised that some elderly lady or small child has not been bulldozed by one of those things as they're zipping up and down a common area. But I'm fortunate that our mall does not have those.
What's the average day in the life of a real mall cop like?
Well, it's just a lot of customer interactions. Every day is different. Um, it depends upon. It doesn't depend upon. You just don't know what to expect. There are a lot of issues with, obviously this is national, but opioid abuse. We deal with,
Right.
some of that aspect. A lot of mental health, but for the most part, it's just ensuring that the mall is a pleasant, safe atmosphere for the customers and tenants. We respond to your typical retail crimes, things of that nature. 9/11 changed a lot
Mm,
of the way that we do things. Some stuff that I just can't go into detail about,
right.
obviously, but so we're taking a note to those and just making our rounds and things of that nature. But it's just a lot of interactions, building relationships, working with law enforcement. Obviously, the active threats that are out there, that's always in the forefront of our minds because it's unfortunately can happen anywhere at any time.
Yep.
There's just just a lot of hate in the world and people that are upset. But that's 1% of the population that I think are less than that than what we deal with. 99% of the people that are out there are phenomenal individuals, and
Yep.
it's a testament to not only our area but our country.
Originally from Wisconsin?
I am, yeah, I was born in West Dallas, raised in Hartford, which is about 30 minutes northwest of Milwaukee. I graduated from Hartford High School, went to a 2-year college in West Bend, which is an extension from the UW or University of Wisconsin system, and got my associate degree. And then with work, after I started at Northridge Mall, I was promoted to supervisor at Mayfair Mall, which is in Wauwatosa. That's just outside of Milwaukee. It's one of the surrounding communities or neighboring communities, if you will. And then about 8 months after working there, I received a promotion. I worked in Northbrook, Illinois, which is probably about 25, 30 minutes from north of Chicago. And that's on a good day.
Right.
I mean, it's taken me 2 hours to get into Chicago
Yeah.
from there. I literally lived 22 miles from the mall when I lived in Illinois. It's just outside of Gurnee, and it would take me an hour and a half one way to get to work, and it just drove me nuts. So that lasted about a year and a half, somewhere in there. And I told my wife, I said, we have to get back home to normalcy because this is nuts.
Right.
This is nuts. Not just the traffic, but the driving. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness.
So, growing up there in Hartford, what the were you exposed to guns early, or was that something that you developed, watching them on TV, or an interest that developed later in life? How did you get interested in guns?
Well, I always my uncles always hunted and fished.
Mm,
Um, my mom, she was divorced from my biological father, remarried, and there was never really guns in the house other than like a BB gun or a
mm,
pellet gun. So I was introduced from that aspect, but I didn't get truly introduced to firearms, handguns. I bought, I think I was 30, 38, 36, somewhere in there when I actually bought my first firearm, which was a Glock 23, and I was nervous as hell. And the pastor of my church, of all people, his brother is he's from South Carolina, and his brother is a firearms instructor. He's got an array of certifications, and but um, they obviously were growing up in the South. We're always exposed to firearms and whatnot, but he initially taught me and introduced me the proper way, or somewhat of a proper way of how to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And the 40 cal was, I think that was probably the tip of its popularity was 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it
Right.
was. So everyone get a 40 caliber. So I got a Glock 23, and that's kind of where this is all taken off from there, I guess. So
What
from there I
was
got to go ahead.
no? Well, I was going to say, well, what was the motivation at age 36 or 38? After all that time, what was the motivation to go out and get a firearm?
Well, my hobby was golf at before that, but my back injury was, I was always getting
Oh,
put on the sideline, so to speak, and with the nagging injuries, because it just couldn't keep up. And I've got the personality. I'm a Type A personality where it's 100% or nothing at all. So between the injuries and then also having kids, it's like, okay, do I want to be a golfer, or do I want to be a husband and a father and find something else that I can do? Well, it was about that time though as well that concealed carry was gaining interest, and it hadn't passed yet, but it was about to. So I thought, well, I need something for home defense, and I'd like to potentially be able to carry a firearm. So that's what led to purchasing the Glock 23.
gotcha. Where did the interest in? How did you find out about competitive shooting? Where did that develop?
Well, ironically, that was from a member of my church as well. That knew that I shot, and like we all do when we're um, going to the range, and we're stacking holes. We think we're big stuff because, oh, I can do this at 7 yards, on my own pace. So, and he's like, hey, there's a Tuesday night league up at the Pure Sportsman's Club. It's kind of IDPA, USPSA esque. Would you like to come sometime? And I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it. Let me clear it with the upper management, and the rest is history. So at the Pure Sportsman's Club, which is about a 45-minute drive north of here, that's just kind of southeast of Green Bay, in
Mhm.
that vicinity. But Joe Coomer and Tom Lang and a number of other men from the Pure Sportsman's Club started a Tuesday night league. And like I said, it's IDPA, USPSA esque, but it's 4 stages, or it's grown to 4 stages. Um, Joe has done an exceptional job at getting the range set up to accommodate our league and whatnot. But so it's more of like a skills or drills, but we'll have 2 actual stages that are where we shoot, where there's some movement and IDPA targets. There's a stage that focuses on kind of transition drills with plates and steel, or sometimes they'll incorporate bowling pins just for fun. And then the final stage is typically like a triple bill drill, something along those lines.
Mhm.
So
More
it,
geared towards your testing your skills, you're running specific drills as opposed to the way a typical IDPA match is set up.
right. I mean, it's a slow introduction into the shooting sports world,
Mm-hmm.
so that it prepares someone that would like to, like myself, and any, okay, I want to try something a little bit more challenging. And this is, I'm not taking away anything from the Tuesday night league. Believe you me, it's humbling. It can be challenging, or I make it challenging, so to speak. Um, but hey, it's like, come out if you really want to do some shooting and test your ability, drawing from a holster, mag changes, things of that nature on the clock. This is the way to do it. And if you're interested, talk to some of the guys and gals that are in the league, and they'll elaborate a little bit more and onto the actual clubs that are in the area, like Ripon IDPA or Badger IDPA, which is down in Muskego.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just a lot of, a different variety um, to choose from. But that's where that's where my interest generated from.
So what about your first introduction to a pure IDPA match?
Well, that was a classifier match.
Naturally.
Yeah, of course. This was the old 72 round classifier, nonetheless. So it was Ripon IDPA always has their club matches the second Saturday of the month, April through October. So I had no idea that there were actual like sanctioned matches. I wasn't even told about the club matches, but I heard, chatter at the Tuesday night league that, hey, there's, we're getting ready for state and this and that. And then I found out about Iowa, but needless to say, I'm like, well, I'm from Wisconsin. I want to shoot the Wisconsin match. What do I need to do? And they're like, hey, come down and shoot the classifier. So the second weekend in May, it's about 35 degrees. It's snowing, of course. I mean, I'm freezing cold out, and they talk about in the safety rules, how they go over. This is a cold range, and someone shouted out, "You're damn right, it's a cold range. Look at it's snowing outside." But that was the classifier. I had no idea that they did other matches from that point forward until later in the year, and I was like, "Holy cow, this is outstanding. This is fun."
So you thought we shoot the classifier and then we go off and shoot the state match?
Yeah. I was like, and I'm like, if the state match is anything like the classifier, this sucks.
Right.
But the 72 round classifier, now after I've gotten experience and whatnot, it is a great test of your shooting ability because of the different distances and the strong hand and the weak hand and things of that nature. But
yeah.
So
how long after that? So you shot the classifier in the freezing cold and snow.
Mm-hmm.
How long after that before the state match? And what do you remember of that experience?
Well, the state match was it was fun, interesting, obviously more intense. I classified as a marksman, so
right.
I didn't get DQ'd, which I was ecstatic about. I got DQ'd the following year. I'll talk about that in a little bit if you want. But,
absolutely.
But yeah, I helped with setup. I was kind of like a 2-day or a 1-day help, 1-day shoot because I couldn't. I had another commitment that Saturday. That's why I couldn't be there for the match. But yeah, it was just fun. The creativity of all the different clubs, because Wisconsin does it in a unique way, and I'm sure John Bordeaux touched base on this, or maybe he didn't. But instead of having one club that's hosting the match design all the stages to eliminate redundancy and a lot of similarities, we have all the clubs from the state submit stages, so it has different personalities, originality, and you put that into a 11 or 12 stage match, and it just puts it puts it together where it really provides a challenge for all skill levels,
right?
And it eliminates that, like I said, the redundancy of, oh well, this is kind of similar to stage 10, and I'm not taking away from any of the other matches because I know of the challenges that go into stage designing and putting together these sanctioned matches. I'm just saying how I appreciate what Wisconsin does by offering the other clubs to design stages.
Cool. That's a neat idea. So how did you do, aside from not DQing, what was your performance like in that first sanctioned match?
I remember I think I finished 5th or 6th in marksman, and that didn't sit well with me. I can't remember my overall finish. Oddly enough, I was going through something and I found my very first score sheets in the plastic bag that they came out.
Yep.
And I didn't look at them because I was sometimes I watch the old video and I'm just disgusted about how bad I shot at times. But it's also good to look back and say, hey, well, okay, I look at all the improvement that I've made.
Right.
But yeah, I think I finished 6th, and it wasn't 6th out of 6th in marksman. There were a number of other shooters in the marksman class of SSP. So I left feeling halfway decent with my performance. So knowing that there's plenty of room for improvement.
And so you're now an expert in SSP, CCP, and bug. What did you do to generate that improvement? What did you do? How did that finish? You said it didn't sit well with you finishing 6th. what did that motivate you to do to get better?
Well, what motivated me was obviously what I felt was a poor performance, but because I've always competed in sports, I want to be, I guess, better than average. So everybody was talking about this crazy thing called dry fire, and I'm like, dry fire? What is dry fire?
It's where you stop
What-
drinking.
Yeah, exactly. So they talked about dry fire. So I started doing some dry fire on my own, and Ben Stoger's from Wisconsin. One of my buddies went to one of his classes, and he gave me a book. So even though that's the other sport of USPSA, I started kind of dabbling in that. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, then Mike Seeklander, in his shooting performance, he sometimes does um, live videos on Facebook, and
Mhm.
I started doing and following some of those, and I was like, holy cow! So I incorporated that, and then I joined his shooting performance, or I got a membership, and I got his whole program, and I just started following it very diligently 2 years ago, and that's when the hamster got back on the wheel, and I was able to actually look like a halfway decent shooter. So then he has Mike's program is great because he just establishes, he goes through how do you establish goals and things of that nature, and the
Mhm.
different training regimens from just physical conditioning to actual, dry fire practice and live fire practice. But I just made the commitment and set some goals, and yeah, I went down to the Indy CCP Classic in, I think that's the first weekend of May of 2018, and ended up with my first bump from marksman to sharpshooter, and I was like, all right, practice pays off, but
Right.
you got to do it right. And I ended up getting another bump down there this year from in CCP from sharpshooter to expert. I got a bump. I don't know what it is with Indiana, but it's been good to me because I got a bump from my SSP sharpshooter to expert down there at the state match last year, and then I earned my bug expert, classification through the 72 round classifier this year before our sanction match.
Yeah, I started to say it's kind of hard to get match bumps in bug.
Oh, but bug is brutal. I will never shoot bug again in a sanction match ever.
You
Forget it.
subjected yourself to that?
I did. Well, I went down to Georgia,
Mm,
the Sand Nat Challenge this year.
right?
I shot that, and granted, it was warm, and I'm leaving Wisconsin, which I thought was a perfect balmy 60 degrees in April, and I get off the plane in Savannah, and I get my rental car and I get my luggage, and I'm walking out the airport, and I'm expecting like 40 degrees to hit, so my body is bracing for that chill because I have no jacket with me in all my infinite wisdom, and the doors open, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, holy cow, is it warm down here?
Mhm.
It was probably about 75 degrees, and I'm like, this is going to be all right. But no, I subjected myself to shooting bug down there, and I didn't shoot well, but I tell you what, there were a number of just phenomenal shooters at that match as well. So it's a testament to the competition that was down there. But then I thought I'm gonna keep doing this because I was upset with my performance. So then I went to the Minnesota IDPA championship this year, and I finished second in expert. I can't remember out of how many. It's probably like I think five or six, third overall in the division. And I'm like, well, I've already committed to Wisconsin, even though I tried talking to John Bordeaux, and I'm like, is it too late? I know the match is next week, but can I change my class? Can I change my division now? And I think he, said something crusty to me, and I said, all right, I'll shoot bug. And then I did. I actually won the division. And my class. So it was, and I didn't think I shot that well, but it
Nice.
was just miserable. Though shooting at little Glock 26, I can't tell you how many blood blisters I had on my hand from the practice and the pinching my fingers, and oh yeah, but
Yep.
it is.
So tell us about this DQ that you alluded to earlier.
So, it was the first time I think that my wife had ever come watched me shoot.
Oh,
And
good.
yeah, so I was excited. And we were 3 stages in. Of course, I had just gotten a procedural on the stage before, and the stage was relatively non-complicated or uncomplicated, I should say. So you start behind a barricade. I'm shooting SSP marksman, and I have high hopes of getting a bump at the Wisconsin match.
Mm-hmm.
So they have 3 targets in front of you, and then they're actually in a stomp box halfway between those 3 targets, and you hit the stomp box. 3 other targets flip up simultaneously. You engage those, and then you move to another point of cover, and you engage 3 more.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished the stage. I unload and show clear. Bill Hatfield is the SO. So as I sweep my elbow back to clear my concealment, my zipper from my concealment somehow slides down the back opening of my holster.
Uh-oh.
And I holstered my firearm, and I notice my concealment garment is kind of hung up. So I grab it and I just sweep it, and there goes my gun. Whoosh. Boom. And it was like slow motion. I hear Bill Hatfield, he was the SO, and he's just, stop. And I'm like, I look up and I said, oh, my day's over. He goes, yep. So that was, my first, and so far, knock on wood, only DQ. But it was a great learning experience. I was upset. Of course, my wife got it on video. So we used that in the in the safety officer training class.
Right.
Yeah. And but I could have. I was upset. I think I threw my mags in my wagon, but I wanted to leave. But my internal self said, no, stay. You can help out. You can still paste. You can run the tablet, whatever. And I'm happy I did, because it allowed me to take a step back, still contribute, but also watch the other shooters in my group and learn from them.
Right.
Being such a young and experienced shooter still. And I was happy that I did that. It wasn't easy to do, because it was probably about 90 plus degrees. And but still, it benefits to stick around, and I'm not knocking anybody that gets DQ'd and leaves, but I strongly encourage any shooter, if they're newer, to just stick around, help paste, because that just shows a lot of your character. But you'll learn something and ask questions. So.
Yep. And it's, for those who are thinking, well, it hasn't happened to me yet, that's the key. It's not a matter of if, but when. It's gonna happen at some point. What's besides your gun, your holster, the mag carriers, and all the normal stuff that everybody keeps in their range bag when they go to a match? Have you got anything in your range bag that's odd or unusual that you just have to take with you to a match?
I don't. I'm pretty boring. But the one thing that I typically have, I mean, I always have a portable charger, but I'm sure plenty of people have that with them. And then, yeah, that's about I don't know, that's the extent of it. Yeah, I don't have anything special, so to speak. I thought about putting a picture of my wife in my bag, but the one I'd want to use would not be right. So I don't need people digging around in my range bag while I'm shooting.
Exactly.
That's so bad of me to say.
That's awesome. All right. So what is it you love about this game? What is it you've gone from freezing cold classifier to, expert in 3 divisions, and you're working to improve, practicing more, you've stopped drinking, so you're doing the dry fire thing. That must be why I don't do it. So what is it that keeps you trying to get better? What is it about this game that you love so much that you keep doing it? What is it that makes IDPA special for you?
I don't want to be a broken record, but the people, I mean, the people have they play a huge role in the sport. But it's not just the people or their personalities, but it's to see their abilities, not just from shooting, but to the creativity of stage design, everything that goes into a sanctioned match. That's what keeps me involved in the sport. I mean, I love the trigger time. Who doesn't, right?
Right.
I love competing, but I've made lifelong friends from Georgia, Indiana to Michigan. From not all over the country, but pretty much in the Midwest. There are a lot of other matches that I have yet to go to that I that are still on my list, so to speak. But it is, the people make the sport great. Don't get me wrong. There are a couple out there that drive me nuts, and just want to, if I didn't shave my head, I'd pull my hair out, for crying out loud. But no, it's neat to see the different creative minds that we have when you walk up to a stage, but not only see the stage design, but then you see the differences about how the shooters approach the stage, especially the distinguished masters or the master level shooters. It's just like phenomenal. I mean, that's another reason I like working the matches and being a safety officer, because you just get to sit back and see some truly talented shooters. And it's like, man, if I could be 75% of what they are, I could burn it down.
Right. Well, Jasen, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was great to get a chance to talk to you, and I'm glad you reached out and sort of indicated an interest in coming on the show, and I'm so glad that you agreed to do it, and I hope I get a chance to see you on the range. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for everything that you do for the sport.
All right, I want to thank today's guest for coming on the show and sharing his story. He was very generous with his time, and the interview ran longer than normal. So if you would like to hear the full-length interview, join us on Patreon, and you'll get access to all the extra content. You could hear the rest of the interview, plus full-length interviews from guests like Bob Vogel and Julie Golub. Sign up for just $1 a month to support the show, and you get access to all the special episodes at unloadpodcast.com/extra. Thank you again for listening. Tune in again next time for another episode of Unload and Show Clear.